Boasberg, and essentially what the face of corruption looks like. We talk about judicial corruption, and a big chunk of judicial corruption isn't just the corruption of the judges themselves, but the corruption of the system generally. Because venue shopping is now very much a part of legal strategy. And I can hardly think of a more corrupt practice to enter what should be a fair and even-handed institution. So I was just about to bring up Mario's camera. Is that a new headset, Mario?
It is. It is. I hope the sound quality is better. I, of course, can't tell from my end. So,
well, I'll tell you what, brother. The sound quality on your old headset was good, but the microphone would kind of droop over time, and as the microphone drooped down, that would screw up your sound quality.
Yeah. Well, this one is. It's new, okay, but I can tell that the actual manufacturing quality of this one is poorer than the one that I have that's 3 years old. So the product is getting worse. It just happens to be new. So we'll probably get about 7 months out of this one, as opposed to 2 years out of the previous.
I have experienced similar concerns.
Yep. No, on my old ones, literally the foam, the padding on the ears is actually falling off and disintegrating. Like the glue is literally melting from. Yeah. Just
I have to buy a new pair of these that I'm wearing right here. I've replaced this pair of headphones about every year and a half.
Yeah.
For the past 5 or 6 years.
Well, it's especially difficult for me because since I am a greasy Dago wop, okay, it really, really hits the personal augmetics like hard, okay, due to the extraordinary grease levels emanating from my body.
Pure, unadulterated olive oil, I'm sure.
That's right.
So, talk to me about Boasberg.
All right. Well, everyone knows, well, most people do. If you don't know who Judge Boasberg is, you're not into politics. You don't even pay attention.
Yeah, basically.
So don't even start now. Don't bother. Okay.
It's too late.
Just vote red no matter who, right?
You've graduated high school without learning algebra.
That's right. So Judge Boasberg, he is a former FISA judge, okay, and now a circuit judge for the DC district, okay,
and not just any FISA judge, by the way, guys. Not just any FISA judge. This is one of the signatures, one of the signatories to the illegal wiretapping that came out of the FISA court against
this guy
Carter
goes
Page.
back to 2015. Okay.
Right. That's right. This guy is, if not one of the architects, at a minimum, one of the substantial co-conspirators in the Russiagate conspiracy.
Correct. In the Russiagate conspiracy, authorizing the electronic surveillance, they call it wiretapping, but that's just kind of a euphemism to, it's a kind of an anachronism, if you will, for electronic surveillance, which is much more involved than just literally tapping into the phone lines. Okay.
Yeah, Dad, we no longer put a spool of telephone line on our back and low crawl with our rifles across our elbows under the Buchan concertina wire to physically connect to their communication systems. That's no longer a practice.
So
unnecessary.
You got to admit, like early signals intelligence involved, you actually had to have electrician skills as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So, don't knock it. I mean, when going to an enemy communication cable, okay, installing a circuit router, okay, around the point where you're going to cut to actually tapping in the line and doing all of that quickly, quietly, and without the operator detecting any significant disturbance, that's an art. Okay. That's a definite skill set.
It's funny, Mario. I was an electrician and a pretty damn good one before I got into signals intelligence. Yep. And of course, by the time I got into signals intelligence, the actual electrical skills that I brought to the plate were completely obsolesced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like in Korea. In the processing, analysis, and reporting shop, I'd look next door at the dusty Morse operator room, and I'm like, you're fucking extinct. You're
Extinct.
done. You're done. This is the only mission in the world for you. Yep. Anyway. So Judge Boasberg, a key component, key authorizing figure in this entire Arctic frost, scandal that you're hearing about, which more or less encompasses the original electronic surveillance of Donald Trump, of Trump Tower. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent subject. So yeah, so the whole Arctic frost scandal, which encompasses basically, you could roll into Russiagate. So we're talking about subversive judicial or activist judicial activities, or partisan judicial activities, or as Thomas Jefferson warned of, the tyranny of the judiciary. Okay. So all of that dating back from 2015 with the initial electronic surveillance of Donald Trump to the present day second administration of Trump. Boasberg was the initial judicial activist who was filing, outrageous injunctions against decisions that the Trump administration was making. Most notably, the first one, big one, was the trying to block the extradition and trying to force a U.S. Air Force plane in flight to return back to the United States to bring back Kilmar Garcia, the Maryland dad, and
Yeah.
convicted drug dealer, gangbanger, and wife beater. All. To be fair, though, that does actually adequately describe a Maryland dad. Particularly in the Prince George County where he was from. So anyway, that was
Like
that was
Baltimore Dad Defiant.
that was subtle racism against black people. Okay, just want you guys to know. Right?
It wasn't that subtle.
It was subtle. It was subtle. Okay.
It was choice.
So
Oh,
that brings us to
Mario. You mentioned real quick. You mentioned Operation Arctic Frost, and this is important. So Operation Arctic Frost was essentially an intelligence operation, a counterintelligence operation, strictly speaking. The U.S. intelligence community was instructed and did, in fact, apparently under direct orders from the Obama administration, if not Obama himself, conduct what amounts to an intelligence operation, treating the Trump administration and the separate Trump campaigns in the same way legally as we treat known active terrorist enemy organizations. Now, the operation, the corruption here runs so deep, even the name of the operation is one of several data point indices of the corruption, because operations of this sort, this is something that I can tell you from experience in that world, in clandestine operations. Operations of the sort are given a random operation number or name, right? The name of the operation is supposed to be generated randomly. There's a complex naming convention where the name of the operation tells you a lot about where the operation belongs, what organization it belongs to, etc. In the case of Arctic Frost, and this is something that you see with specific high-profile cases, high-profile operations, where there's an expectation of publicizing it in the future. The name Arctic Frost is a specific reference to a type of orange that grows in Florida but is particularly hardy under even cold conditions, as a reference to Donald Trump being an orange transplant from New York to Florida.
Yeah, so as Aaron Olson says, these operation names sound like Marvel movie names. So generally speaking, if you want to come up with a military operation, military intelligence operation, or government operation, all right, you simply follow this simple strategy. You follow this simple construction. Take an element from the periodic table. Take an animal from take an adjective, and then take an animal from the zoo. All right, there you go. You got it. So like Operation Cobalt Dire Zebra. Okay, like that would be example. Okay,
Yeah.
of a real life operation name when it's picked at random. Okay, sometimes with hilarious results.
Yeah, we had a target livid Inuit at one point, and at the time, my one private on the ground was a young Filipino guy from who was born in Alaska. And we made a lot of jokes about him being our livid Inuit.
I took place in an operation towards the end of the Iraq War. I cannot get into specifics, but it was literally named Operation Lithium Weasel. Okay, and I'm like, fucking based. Like, can I get a T-shirt of that after we're done with this? No, you can't. God damn it! Fucking Lithium Weasel, get some. Look, anyway.
I love it. So let's talk about this article that we've got on Boasberg, and brother, I've got a little bit of supplemental material pulled up to take this conversation in a few different directions. I don't know how much time you've got this morning. I've got to shoot at 1500, so as long as I'm out the door by 1:30 to get on site, I'm good to go. But take us through the article real quick, Mario, since you supplied it.
Oh, did I? Okay, you're right.
You did. This is a Revolver article.
There's a reason the name Judge James Boasberg keeps popping up every time the deep state pulls another rabbit out of its hat. From Russiagate to FISA-gate, from Ray Epps to the J6 show trials, Boasberg's ghoulish fingerprints all over the weapons used to attack President Trump and the American First Movement for nearly a decade now. Boasberg supporters like to say he's just doing his job, man. Well, the job always involves running cover for Democrats, deep state ops, and corrupt bureaucrats while hammering Trump allies. It's not exactly hard to connect the dots here. And that brings us to the latest twist in this ongoing judicial saga, okay? Which is that activist before you may need to see him now as one of the deep state's most key players. And that brings us to the latest twist in the ongoing judicial saga. What investigative journalist Sundance, which is on Twitter, just uncovered ties it all together now with a big bow on top. Okay, so if you thought Judge Boasberg was an activist before, now you can see him as one of the deep state's most key players. And here's the thing: this article has a laundry list, okay, of things that Judge Boasberg has been involved in. Okay. I'll just start reading some off, and Chris, cut me off when you want to.
Go for it.
Judge Boasberg signed off on search warrants against Congress. They were literally tapping Lindsey Graham's phone. Okay, now Lindsey Graham is a piece of shit, but I mean, if Lindsey Graham gets his feathers ruffled, okay, or gets his ladybugs irked, okay, sometimes he can be useful on our behalf. Judge Boasberg issued blanket orders to cell phone companies not to reveal the search warrants. Okay. Wow. Boasberg isn't a FISA court judge. That's where he started. He authorized the Carter Page Title I surveillance warrants. Okay. So back the Page Strzok scandal from when it was revealed in 2017, that was Boasberg. Boasberg hired Mary McCord as amicus to the court. After appointing Mary McCord to take up defensive positions for herself in FISA court cover, Boasberg then became the presiding judge in the case against the FBI agent who falsified the FISA application, Kevin Kleinsmith. Boasberg gives Kleinsmith a slap on the wrist and a few months probation. Boasberg told John Durham under Bill Barr, allowing a target to escape prosecution as part of the penalty upon the DOJ for wrongful assembly of a FISA application. In other words, it's like when a police catch a guy dead to rights, but somebody mishandled evidence. Now we have to throw it out, even though the guy's obviously like a triple murderer. He gave Ray Epps a sentence for probation, despite Ray Epps being, if anyone watching all the coverage of the J6 events of that day, if anyone were to objectively come up with who do you think the leader of this operation was, it would have been Ray Epps, because he was the one most forcefully arguing for people to storm the Capitol. Okay. Boasberg established the horrible precedent by forcing Mike Pence to testify before a grand jury about his conversations with President Trump. If there is any such thing as executive privilege, okay, conversation between the president and the vice president would certainly be the pinnacle of that. Okay. While he was on vacation, Boasberg attended the criminal indictment hearing of President Trump. So he literally he took leave to go to New York to watch Trump get like raked across the coals for fake, you forgot to dot this I and cross this T on some loan with Deutsche Bank 10 years ago. He issued a restraining order.
Wait. Hold on real quick. It says, okay, so for one, I want to hit that one for a minute. It says while on vacation, Boasberg attended the criminal indictment hearing of President Trump. So this is not the fraud case, Mario, because remember that was a civil violation where Letitia James came in and made the claim that Trump defrauded these banks, moved it to civil litigation. The banks all said there was no fraud. It was absolute garbage. This is the criminal indictment, though. This is about the 34 counts, right, where essentially what happened is the claim is that Donald Trump instructed some lower functionary to hide the payments that were made to Stormy Daniels to hush her up over the previous affair, right? Now, when the Stormy Daniels when that whole thing, that whole drama, that whole scandal first came out, Donald Trump denied everything outright, and he continued to deny everything outright from the word go. Still maintains that he never had sex with Stormy Daniels. And remember, at the time, I pointed out, and Cameron and I were agreed on this. We said, the Donald's got a type, and she is kind of a busty blonde, so I think he might have did it.
Oh,
He has maintained that he never did it. And more importantly, Stormy Daniels has published a retraction. She came out publicly and said in very strong terms, we never had sex. I lied. I was attempting to extort more money from Donald Trump. She made this claim publicly. And so the criminal indictment presupposes that he had sex with her, that he paid her hush money to sign a non-disclosure agreement, which I will add all the way up to this point. None of that is illegal.
Was this help me out here, because there's been I could count like there's like 3 different indictments or judicial whatevers that Trump's dealt with in New York. Is this the story about how Trump ruthlessly piped down some retail worker in a changing room? Okay, at like Macy's.
No, it's not that one.
Oh,
it's not that completely unfounded and unbelievable story.
Because Trump was in the changing room, like ruthlessly laying pipe like Billy Bob Thornton in Bad Santa, like against that woman who was not apparently his type. Anyway, I get them confused. It doesn't matter because they're all spurious nonsense.
Yeah, and in that one, they like to say, well, he was found liable.
Gene Carroll, thank you, Pit Daddy.
Yes. Yeah, Gene Carroll. They like to repeat the refrain. He was found liable for rape by a judge. No, he was not. In the E. Jean Carroll case, let's be clear. Here's what happened in the E. Jean Carroll case. I'll get back to the Stormy Daniels thing, which brings us around to the felonies, because I really want you guys to understand how corrupt this shit is. E. Jean Carroll made the claim that some 30 years ago, she doesn't remember when, but sometime in the early 90s, right? She and Donald Trump were at this big, expensive department store, right? I forget the name of the department store now. It's a very big, expensive department store. And that there was nobody there. That the place was abandoned, empty, as if it were closed, although it weren't. And this location is directly across the street from one of Trump's many gorgeous hotels. And for some reason, they went into a changing room, Bergdorf Goodman. They went into a changing room where she does not even claim that they had sex. She claims that he touched her. She claims that he essentially grabbed her by the pussy. Right? Not that they had sex, not that he forced himself into her, so-called. Remember, this is in one of the biggest, most popular department stores in the world. On some day, some time ago, that she was wearing a dress that did not exist until like 10 or 15 years later, according to the designer's records, right? That this happened in an abandoned store because there was one random day some 30 years ago that there was just nobody there, right? And it all sounds very much like a story that came out of one of the and I don't mean it sounds like the kind of story that would happen on a criminal on a police procedural. It literally is a story from one of the police procedurals. And the charges that she alleges, even if it had happened, it was all well beyond the statute of limitations. And a specific law was made for a clemency period of 1 year to allow for a case of this nature to be brought, regardless of the statute of limitations, a period during which exactly one case, this case, was brought. Right? Total judicial and political corruption to make the case come around to begin with. And then Trump was acquitted on the charges. After he was acquitted, after the jury said, we do not find this credible, we do not find that Donald Trump is guilty of what he's charged with, he tweeted, hey, I got off. I'm free. I got acquitted.
And that caused emotional harm to her, so she got more money.
Then she sued him for defamation because he tweeted that he was innocent, and she won that case. So when they say he was found liable of rape, no, he was sued civilly for defamation related to having been acquitted for a rape case, which was an obvious fabrication whose original filing was illegal on its face.
Okay. How do you remember so much about such spurious shit? Okay. All I have to say about that is, you know what? I consider myself a bit of a prude, but let's be honest. Semi-consensual changing room pipe down, that's fucking hot. Okay. Anyway. Yes, Julie Palm. I'm Julie Palm. I'm fine.
The case that it's saying Boasberg went to watch while he was on vacation. This is the criminal indictment. This is the 34 charges. He was convicted of 34 felonies. He wasn't. Somebody else may or may not have done something, and Trump was charged with having somehow indirectly ordered it. Essentially, the allegation here is that like the way Obama instructed Lois Lerner to shuffle 501c3 organizations down the stack of applications so that conservatives couldn't get their organizations funded and operational by, putting it out there into the nebulous penumbra, please someone rid me of this troublesome priest, that Donald Trump did that on the Stormy Daniels case, where even if all of the allegations are true up until the alleged bookkeeping error, he did nothing illegal. Notice I didn't say he did nothing wrong. He did nothing illegal. Paying hush money and having an NDA signed is an absolute common practice, especially around political figures.
Why are we talking about Stormy?
Because she's the one, because it was the hush money payment to Stormy Daniels that is the money that was allegedly being fudged by the lower level functionary in the Trump organization that misfiled some things. And even there, they get to the 34 counts by saying, well, he misfiled it in place 1, place 2, and place 3, and then multiplying that by the number of copies that are made of the documents, essentially. And then all of that is well past the statute of limitations. It's not possible to bring charges on these crimes at the time that they were brought without the exacerbating additional effect of their having been committed in service of another crime. That crime must be a felony, and no actual felony was ever alleged, let alone indicted or convicted. So Donald Trump was never convicted of a felony to have a crime for which those 34 misdemeanors could be underlying.
The whole affair was
Donald Trump is a 34 times convicted felon. He is not. That is a lie. That is false.
The whole affair was the height of judicial embellishment. Okay, so yes, absolutely.
And then finally, I want to take issue with the language here. It says while on vacation. Let me spin that up a little bit so you guys can see it more clearly. It says while on vacation. Boasberg attended the criminal indictment hearing of President Trump. No, that is incorrect. Let me frame that more correctly for you. Boasberg took a vacation for the explicit purpose of going to attend this criminal indictment. Right? You don't take a week off and happen to catch the Super Bowl while you're in town. No, that's why you went there.
No shit. All right. So, also, as I mentioned, Boasberg, he issued the TRO, temporary restraining order, blocking DHS and ICE from deporting illegal aliens, narco trafficking gang members belonging to Tren de Aragua, designated as a foreign terrorist organization. So Boasberg believes that gang members en route to CCOT in El Salvador basically have constitutional rights to, or something like that, and that the plane needs to turn around to bring them home. Okay, there were calls for him to be impeached. Okay, in the House by the Republican House. And when that happened, and also Donald Trump said the same thing, that Boasberg should be impeached. And that's where it gets weird, okay? Because Chief Justice John Roberts came to his defense, issuing basically a statement stating that, well, for the past 248 years, it is the not understood that it's not the appropriate response, disagreeing regarding judicial actions, to immediately seek for them to be impeached, or some basically wishy-washy horseshit language, okay, from Chief Justice John Roberts, who is, I can say 100% certain he is compromised in some way by someone. Someone has
Yes.
the compromise. Someone has the compromise on this man. I was wary of it during the Bush the Lesser's administration, okay, where he was selected to replace Chief Justice John Rehnquist, if I remember correctly. Um, yeah, Rehnquist. Okay, and so I'm like, oh wow, oh man, and then this was at the height of partisanship. So I'm like, okay, man, this is gonna be a knockdown, drag out fight in the Senate to get this John Roberts guy. I mean, look at this guy. He looks like a cookie cutter Anglo American white male. Okay, like and so,
Yeah,
but
can't
no,
have that.
but there wasn't. But there wasn't. He was just unanimously passed through. Like there wasn't even a fight, and I'm like, okay, well, then the fix must be in. This they must already basically they don't need to question him because they've already got the compromise on him, so they know that he is going to rule in a manner that is judiciously beneficial for the deep state or for the uni party itself, right? So I know, I'm a I'm a one man non-disclosure agreements non-compliance machine. That's right. All right,
Speaking of which, Mario, I've got a present for you. You ready?
do you? Well, it wasn't that cool, but I like the image.
Do I have? I don't have one right here. I've got ball caps with one of my unit logos on it, and it's a little it says secret squirrel, and it's a little squirrel in a trench coat.
Yeah, everyone's we had those in Iraq too. All right, and so yeah, so Chief Justice uh, John Roberts comes to the defense of Boasberg. Okay, so does a Mary McCord, who is basically selected as court amicus, and her husband works for Justice John Roberts. Okay, and this is around the same time that Justice John Roberts was traveling to Europe, to Prague, to visit with Norm Eisen. Norm Eisen is a CIA hatchet man who's responsible for multiple color revolutions in Europe and in Europe primarily during the second Obama administration. Okay, so something is wrong with Justice John Roberts, and the fact that Boasberg is allowed to operate as essentially a, a he's a fourth column. He gets to operate as a fourth column of government, effectively, as a judiciary beyond judiciary. Okay, doing whatever he wants, and basically, and then whatever he says, you don't like it, too bad, and you got to wait for the Supreme Court to come. Well, not even censure me, not punish me, not chasten me, but to just let it go. Like give me a
Yep.
break. Yep.
So, Mario, when you say Eisen is a hatchet man, explain that.
Norm Eisen is basically the architect. Wrong button. What about me? I need coffee
Whoops.
too. Anyway.
Well, then I'll take over the monitor for you to go get coffee in a minute.
Okay. All right. Norm Eisen is he's basically the idea of the color revolution. Okay. What is the color revolution? A color revolution is when outside media sources, okay, whether through the form of direct government action or non-governmental organizations, taking foreign money from the State Department of a rival nation, okay, or of a competitor nation, right? Basically injecting money and influence and propaganda into your country to foment a populist revolution to topple a government. Okay, so a classic example of that would be, say, Ukraine in 2014. All right, where the people had elected a president, Yakonovich or something, I believe. Don't quote me; I'm probably wrong. Anyway, he had pro-Russian sentiments, okay, and was content to leave Eastern Ukrainians well enough alone and let them basically, speak Russian and kind of be Russians within Ukraine. I mean, let's be honest, we're like we're talking brother nations here anyway, right?
Well, yeah,
So,
the Ukrainians are
yeah,
ethnically Russian.
yeah. So, well, that the Obama administration didn't like that. Okay, so they contacted Norm Eisman, who is CIA. All right, and he created the non-governmental organization network. Okay, to include that what's that Jewish lady who used to be hot and then turned into a troll? What was her name? Um,
That's a
Never mind.
that's a broad brush to paint with.
She's
That is a target-rich
the
environment.
misinformation lady, the Harry Potter kink lady. You know who I'm talking
Oh,
about.
oh God! She was the
No, no, no,
head
never
of
mind. Never mind. It's Victoria Newland. Okay,
Jenkowitz.
yeah, Jenkins. I'm thinking someone else. So Victoria Newland, all right, worked with Norm Eisen to create a basically to foment a revolution. Okay, which involved actively hiring mercenaries from Romania to basically shoot up the block in the Maidan Plaza. Okay, which is what really kicked off the festivities, if you will. So you know, causing populist revolutions. Okay, to foment regime change. That's what a color revolution is. The Muslim Brotherhood taking control in Egypt in 2013, I believe. That would also fall under that same category. And you could say that the BLM riots of 2020, okay, and the COVID, the supranational COVID regime, okay, combined
Yeah.
with the Black Lives Matter riots of 2020, that also is that also was a color revolution. Okay, it was a coup against the United States. So that is Norm. That's what Norm Eisen. That's his gift to the planet. Okay, That's what Norm Eisen's work is. And yes, he is. Of course, he's an Aaron Olson. Come on, I don't have to tell you at this point. You already know.
It's also worth pointing out Boasberg. I hope you remember this headline, Mario. Judge Boasberg halts deportations of MS-13 members. We talked about this a little bit already in the show today. But amid family ties to Partners for Justice and $11,000 in donations. Chief Judge Boasberg has come under scrutiny. So this is from March of this year. Come under scrutiny.
Can I go fill my
Yeah,
sippy
go get
cup?
coffee. Go get coffee while I read. Just move faster. Don't take the headphones off, shithead. It takes moments. So Boasberg, under scrutiny, he was one of the judges. In fact, he was one of the first judges issuing the national injunctions against President Trump's various actions, and was actively involved in essentially going out of his way to prevent the Trump administration from removing not just illegal immigrants, but specifically those with ties to MS-13, and as we already mentioned earlier, Tren de Aragua. This guy is actively working from the judicial bench to keep not just hostile foreign invaders, but hostile foreign invaders who are directly affiliated with foreign terror organizations like MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. Right? Don't forget, like last year, we covered extensively We even had some commentary from the company that owned the apartment buildings, Trinity Aragua, taking possession of apartment buildings all over the country. And what they would do is they would move in and they would start shaking down the residents and telling them, "You pay us your rent now." And so the companies, the companies that own the apartment buildings were not getting rent from their tenants because the tenants were being forced at gunpoint to pay their rent to Trinity Aragua, right? Those are the
Yeah.
kind of people that Boasberg works his ass off to keep in the country. Well, his daughter works for and does fundraising for an organization called Partners for Justice, a nonprofit organization that provides legal assistance to undocumented immigrants raising concerns about a potential conflict of interest. A potential conflict of interest. Okay, we've talked about this old saw many times before. The idea that the appearance of impropriety is impropriety, right? And there's truth to that, right? If it looks like something shady, then as a public figure, especially one who's in a position of public trust, then it should be treated as if the shady thing is happening, whether it is or not, if it just appears to be shady. And so you should avoid that kind of thing at all costs. And one of the reasons we do that is because in an event, in a case like this doesn't look like there may be a potential conflict of interest. This looks like intentional, aggressive, and particularized corruption, right? Direct connection between the various parties with conflicting interests for the explicit purpose of undermining American foreign policy and specifically the policy objectives of the Donald Trump administration, right? So Boasberg has been basically on the Never Trump train and committing crimes to further those ends since 2015.
He also has a habit of sealing documents, okay, to make it difficult for either Trump's legal team or any other, MAGA adjacent legal team to try to access, primary documents, okay, in their defense.
Yes.
He makes discovery impossible by sealing evidence, okay, essentially.
And he should be treated as an accomplice, right? If let's the murder trial is always the easiest one to go to when you're talking about the example of spoliation. Let's say I'm on trial for murder and Mario gets caught in my backyard melting down the murder weapon, right? And there's no way to prove it's the murder weapon other than it is a weapon. He's melted it down far enough that the best you can tell when he's caught is it was a weapon. And the connection that's going to be made is, well, Lowry's buddy Mario went to his house and built a big fire in the yard and stoked it up hot enough to try and melt down the revolver. We found a revolver that's destroyed beyond any point that we can match it to the ballistics, but there's no other reasonable motivation than to have been destroying evidence. And so you, the jury, are now instructed, we will charge Mario with the crime of destroying the evidence, making him an accessory to the murder, and we will treat him until this conclusion as an unindicted co-conspirator, until we have actually convicted, and then we'll proceed on that. And for the jury, all evidence related to this must be considered as it relates to the weapon that was being destroyed to have been the most damning possible evidence it could possibly have been, because there's no other logical, reasonable justification for a person to risk being indicted and convicted for the destruction of evidence other than that evidence must have been the nail in the coffin, the literal smoking gun, the guarantor of proof of guilt. So everything that has ever been sealed by Judge Boasberg should be assumed to be absolutely damning to him and all of his allegiant co-conspirators.
So let's talk about the underlying problem here, which is impeaching a judge, all right? Getting rid of judges. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't basically the level of action required the same as impeaching a president to get rid of a judge? Don't you need to be? You have to be. It has to be impeached in the House, and then the Senate has to vote on it, or
It's
is
a
it not
similar
quite that
process.
complicated?
Let me ask
Someone in the chat. Someone in the chat's going
PhD.
to know. Oh,
Let me ask Chat PhD. What is the
I
process?
bet someone in the live chat knows the answer to that question before you can use your precious machines to get the answer.
I tell you what, if somebody in the live chat beats Chat GPT to the punch, I'll give away a free membership right now.
You have 5 seconds.
Okay, I've already got the answer. I'm reading it. Let me share it. Oh, you guys. Pitt Danny said 2/3 of the Senate must convict. That's the only piece that I was really looking for that I was unsure of. So yeah, Danny, you didn't quite make the cut, but fuck it, I'll send one out anyway.
See, that's my question. Is it something that's more held in the committees, or is it over like a overall quorum type vote?
So, hey, Sergeant Major got the freebie. That's not how that's supposed to work. Article 2, Section 4, and Article 3, Section 1 govern it. This is one that I wanted to bring up. Hold their offices during good behavior. That's an important piece of language there. What that means is that as soon as a judge is not in good behavior, right? So by the letter of the law, Judge Boasberg is not a judge, right? We're talking about the appearance of impropriety. Within the strictures of that governance, hold their offices during good behavior. As soon as a judge appears to have a conflict of interest, the Constitution says that's it. He is no longer a judge. He holds his office during good behavior.
Yeah.
So this article that I shared just a moment ago about under scrutiny after halting the deportation of gang members, including those affiliated with his daughter, works for Partners for Justice. Okay, all that right there, that's enough. That meets the threshold. He doesn't actually need to be impeached. The Constitution says he is no longer a judge and has not been since those facts, not since those facts came to light, since those facts came to be true. And let me explain why that matters. I talked last week when we were talking about the cocaine ring in Boston, or not Boston, Springfield, I think. I talked about the appearance of propriety, the history of a thing in occurrence. The Springfield drug lab case. There was a drug lab that got caught fabricating evidence, and a judge who was tied to using that drug lab to fabricate evidence to secure more convictions. And the result was the vacating of all of his previous convictions, most especially related to drug crimes. Now, there's a good chance that, because we're talking about like 1,600 or a shitload of convictions, there's a good chance that many of those convictions were legitimate convictions. But because it was found that the judge had been corrupted and used corrupt means to secure some convictions, then it came to be treated as if there was suspicion that he may have done that on all of his convictions, vacating all of them. So what I'm saying is that if there's any suspicion that Judge Boasberg, or any judge for that matter, is corrupt, then all of their judicial
it clouds all the preceding judicial decisions.
Back to at least the time of the beginning of their bad conduct.
Hence the explicit good behavior outlined in the Constitution.
And then for the impeachment itself to happen, the House votes. 51. A simple majority is required to impeach. Once impeached, where does it? Conviction or removal? A 2/3. So once impeached, it goes to the Senate for conviction, and
that's the problem.
2/3 vote of the Senate to convict.
And that's the problem. So it's so
Right.
it can never the mechanism to remove these judges in the Constitution is inadequate to actually remove them. Okay. And that is the problem. So there needs to be another way. Okay. And not a way that's going to backfire on us immediately. Okay. But I mean,
One that's not going to backfire. See, if you hadn't have said that, I'd have told you there is another way. We know the other way. The Democrats have taught us the other way.
wet work.
I'm not suggesting that's the way to go. I want to stand on the ballot box before I go to the cartridge box.
Yeah.
But I become increasingly concerned every day that the cartridge box becomes a looming inevitability.
Chris
and
is not
I am also somewhat concerned that my opinion on this is one that is shared broadly enough as to be an exacerbating factor, which is I would prefer, if we must go to the cartridge box, I would rather we do it sooner rather than later, because my chief concern there is that we will see an armed revolution in this country. And it will be so far from now. It will be 10 or 15 or 20 years from now when I am too old and sick and broken and weak to fight it myself, and it will become the problem of my son, who should not have to bear that burden. But we live in a world where the prevailing theory of the Democrat, of the majority of boomers who are the primary supporters of the Democrat Party, and the communists and socialists. I know I've got a bunch of great boomers in my audience who are not commie sycophant shitbirds, but the majority of your generation are, and they have, what the damage they have done to this country is all rooted in a sort of self-centeredness.
They're not
where they are more than happy to burden their progeny. They're more than happy to burden their posterity with the cost of their sins and their inadequacy and their greed.
They're not. I wouldn't consider them communist boomers. The majority of them. Okay, they're the bon vivant boomer. Okay, the one who basically everything in my life is great. So I'm not going to be the slightest bit concerned about the criminality I see. Around me festering within the government. Okay, or within institutions. It's the bon vivant. Okay. Bon vivant boomer. He exists right next to the NIMBY boomer. Okay,
Yeah.
slightly different characteristics.
They overlap.
Okay. Yeah. So
they have nice houses next door to one another, and they built a pool that actually straddles their property line.
So to summarize it, Chris, what you're saying is that you are not, unlike the left, you are not a Antifa trainee activist who hangs out outside of a judge's house with a pistol and a hand grenade, literally telling the police that I have severe mental issues. That's not
correct.
You. Okay,
that is
good.
not me.
Good. Just to be clear, what we're looking at here on both sides.
Yeah, when I say not in my backyard, what I mean is I was already sitting here with a rifle, and by trespassing, you have just interrupted the acquisition of my dinner.
There was no sign posted. You can't shoot me. I didn't see a
you
sign.
You didn't actually get shot on my property for trespassing. You walked in front of a bullet that was trying to refill my freezer with venison.
Oh, that's the excuse.
Sorry, buddy. You should have looked both ways.
Next time, all right. If you ever drop by Chris's household unannounced, make sure you're wearing bright orange, okay, at all times.
And if you ever drop by the Sergeant Major's house unannounced, if the weather's nice, you should honk before you pass the privet hedge. Give him time to put pants on. You might be in the pool.
I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna show up like the new. I'll show up like the new Antifa strategy, where I'm wearing like a balloon-powered suit, okay, around me. It'll be like It'll be like bright orange Heathcliff the cat. Okay, there you go. Dated myself. If you get the reference, you get it. Okay, that's right. You can't.
Man, I remember Heathcliff. That was a great cartoon. Sergeant Major, yeah, the Dick Cheney option. Yeah, Dick Cheney got a lot of criticism that was illegitimate. He got a lot of it that was legitimate, but the whole he shot his buddy by accident, man, that's just if you can't relate to that, you just haven't been having fun.
That guy was going to talk about something. He was going to be a whistleblower, and then he accidentally got shot in the neck duck hunting with Dick Cheney, and then you never heard of him ever again. Okay?
I know.
Cheney will kill
It's
you. Like Cheney's like real deep state. Okay, they don't make
yeah,
deep state like
it's not like they were out having the kind of good fun you and I are used to. Like live ammo bounding Overwatch training.
yeah, yeah. They don't make deep state like Cheney anymore. Cheney will invade your country, give his own company the primary contract to rebuild it after he's killed 1 million people, and just and then he'll go sit down to a nice banquet for lunch.
Yeah.
He's absolutely vicious. And then
All right.
he'll have his daughter do his dirty work, basically punishing and brutalizing the people who voted for him twice.
Excuse me. All right, Mario, you got anything else to add?
Uh, Jigglypuff says he'll wear bright pink. Okay, yep, that works. That works, Jiggly.
Fair play. Fair
Jiggly
play.
asked where I've been. Actually, yeah, I did have one more thing. Yeah, I had to take a personal sabbatical. Okay, last Tuesday through Friday. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. I'm here now. All right. Um, and the other issue. This is just a couple minutes, and I don't want you to go on a tangent on this, Chris. But the other big thing in the news right now is the thing with basically Tucker Carlson interviewed Nick Fuentes. Okay, and the entire Zionist media is absolutely seething about it because he essentially he opened the gate and allowed he who must not be named into the public sphere. Okay, so the interview itself was um, pretty pared down. Okay, there was nothing really radical. Okay, stated. Um, Other than the fact that people are like noticing and kind of getting tired of the fact that a small Middle Eastern country seems to have extremely outsized influence over the decisions that we make domestically and in our foreign policy, which is the heart of the issue with basically the Zionist regime. Okay, um, so Tucker Carlson introduced Nick Fuentes to basically the boomers and the normies. Okay, and yeah, and now that can't be put back in the bag. Tucker Carlson broke a firewall which was established, okay, by people like Daily Wire, okay, um, and yeah, they're pissed, okay. So,
Yeah.
and Benjamin Netanyahu has publicly stated that if you talk bad about Israel, then you are an enemy of the state of Israel. You're a threat to the state of Israel, and that you can be neutralized. Okay, so understand we could be moving into a very dangerous new paradigm where people who speak out about certain groups of people and their influence in our government could be politically assassinated in broad daylight, as outlined by their secret intelligence organization's outline or
You know,
platform. Okay,
so
and that leads us to the question that Candace Owens keeps asking, but I don't know about that one. I'm not going to get involved in that one. Okay.
um so Fuentes was actually supposed to be on Tim Pool, and Pool has talked about having wanted to have Nick Fuentes on for a long time and having chosen not to as a business decision because basically the rules on YouTube and several other platforms said you can't platform him. And Poole said, look, it's not a personal thing. This is my business. And if talking to person X shuts down the business, then I can't talk to person X because my business is talking to people. If I have a conversation with one person and that means I can no longer have conversations with other people, that's a problem. Now that those restrictions have lifted, we're super excited about having Fuentes on the show. And so Fuentes going on Tim Pool got pushed back so that he could do the Tucker Carlson interview, and we're supposed to be seeing Fuentes on Pool sometime in the next week or two.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I hope to God Phil Abonte and fucking Ian Crossland are on there for that episode. Especially.
I need Crossland. Crossland is the only one on Timmy's panel that I actually respect. Okay, because he's
I like Phil.
Crossland's a weirdo, and he'll just say it. Okay, I respect that. Okay, that's basically me.
Well, and I hope what's his face?
Here, real quick, Aaron Olson says also Charlie Kirk did not like Fuentes, not the best take. Yes, I know. That's why I'm not even getting into the Charlie
Right.
Kirk. I'm not even going to get into. There was some international conspiracy to assassinate Charlie Kirk. There's too many.
Well,
There's too much conflicting information that doesn't make sense. So that's when I just back away from it. Okay.
the only thing I'm going to say about this was the next thing I was going to say, actually. The only
Graphene
thing
oxide.
about that's even worth mentioning is, God, if something, God forbid, happens to Nick Fuentes, if Nick Fuentes was assassinated,
Yeah.
I guarantee not only would it reignite all the Israel did it conspiracy theories, but it would absolutely reignite and embolden more of that the Jews killed Charlie Kirk bizarre. Because guys, the whole idea that Benjamin Netanyahu ordered the assassination of Charlie Kirk because Kirk was apparently becoming an Semito-skeptic. There doesn't appear to be any there, but that doesn't stop conspiracy theorists from losing their shit. If Fuentes suddenly added to that bonfire,
there
there'd
is
be
some
no stopping
there,
it.
but there is some there, but it's just text message records. Okay, like you know what I mean. So that's the
It's
only thing
not
you've
even
got is text messages. But
the
still,
only tech. Well, yeah, like I said, like you said, we don't want to go down that
that's why I
rabbit
said
hole.
before we
I
started
just
this, we're going to start a rabbit hole.
right.
We got to.
Well, I don't want to go down. I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole either. I just wanted to point out that since you mentioned if something were to happen to Fuentes, that's going to reignite all of that, and it would be an absolute wildfire
I guess
of conspiracy nonsense.
that's right. And that's the thing that really the heart of what I wanted to get at. Okay, is Nick Fuentes appearing on Tucker Carlson's show. It is the right wing, the right wing Zoomers. Okay, are starting to make their presence known. Okay, they basically want a seat at the table. They want to be heard, and they want to be part of the political process. Okay, so it's a coming of age type event, and it's going to be a painful transition for some people who are, calcified within the media on our side. Okay, so it's going to be a painful transition, but as Barbara Specter said, this transformation must occur, or the right wing will not survive. Barbara Specter, I'll explain after. Never mind. Okay.
No worries. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and put a pin in it right there. Before I close it out, I did publish a new music video over the weekend, "The Gospel of the Black Mirror." Go check that one out. Share it everywhere.
It's black pilling as fuck, dude. It's like 5 minutes of abuse. It's 5 minutes of damn.
Yeah.
It's 5 minutes of like your unborn grandchild is doomed already.
Yeah. But you know what? I need you guys to take a few of those black pills and get. I need you guys to take just enough of those black pills to
develop an immune response. Okay, that's what it's about. You have to develop an immune response.
To become the immune response, to recognize what the real threats are and be prepared to act against them. You in fact are the white blood cells of this nation. And need to recognize what threats are when they come. So yeah, go check out the mirror, the Gospel of the Black Mirror. Like, share, and subscribe. And guys, we love you, and we will see you tomorrow.
Ciao.
Uh-oh. I figure we can close them out on this.
Weasel. Yeah, Lithium Weasel wasn't that cool. Lithium